It is a scam when you don't allow everyone to operate on fair terms.
We are the Robin Hoods of sports betting. We take something back from the rich bookies and enable our customers to beat them instead.
G'day everyone, Alex here, TradeMate Sports, joined by, on our last Q&A, live Q&A of 2020, who else but the great man himself, Anthony Kaminskas. How are you, mate?
How are you, man? Yeah, good. All good. All good. Child is nearly asleep, so happy days.
That's the way, mate. So for those who don't know much about Anthony, I'm sure he can explain it a lot better than me, but you came on the podcast probably about 2 or 3 months ago now. And it was one of our most popular podcasts, so everyone really enjoyed listening to you. So I thought, why not get you back on, mate, and let the crowd answer some questions or ask some questions rather than my stupid questions. So so anyone out there, feel free to start sending through your questions for Anthony. But yeah, maybe just kick things off and just explain a little bit about yourself for people who haven't listened to the podcast. Listen to you ramble on for an hour and 45 minutes.
I'll try and keep this under an hour and a half. So, just Anthony Kaminskas, just from Manchester, lived in Dublin for 10 years, 12 years, worked for Paddy Power for 10 years, Paddy Power Betfair latterly, just involved around the horse racing and greyhound racing latterly, teams, risk management and trading basically. So just looking after all the stuff that Paddy Power and latterly Paddy Power Betfair would have done in regards to racing stuff with 4 legs, basically. Yeah.
Nice, mate. And nowadays?
Nowadays, betting against bookmakers, trying to avoid real work and make a few quid. Yeah. That's basically it.
Nice, buddy. And how's it all been going through COVID? Has it changed much of what you do?
Yeah, COVID was very interesting. Like I had a lot of my bankroll invested anti-post in football. So when it got to like mid-March, end of March, there was a few. I was a little like expected value-wise. I was going very well, and then football got cancelled, and then I was like, oh Jesus! Like all the work that you've put in over the last 7 months or whatever it is, what's going to happen here? Am I going to get my money back? And I was working out, it even got to the point where I was working out 45% of my business was with William Hill, and William Hill's share price was going through the floor. And I was like, oh crap, like I wasn't factoring in William Hill going to the wall. So like I was even calculating different things around that, which I couldn't get out of. But ended up working out all right. A few bookies paid out, basically everyone bar Paddy Power, double results. So it was good. I either got voids or winners on a lot of the stuff, and it worked out even better than it could have done, but there was a bit of a delay getting paid just while the season finished, basically. Yeah. All good.
Nice. All right, everyone's a bit shy sending questions through. We've got a few people on already, but they're just a bit shy. Oh, here we go. Look at that. Say that. Tommy, mate. He says, have you ever been caught out on maximum payments? For instance, on a football multiple bet, the bookies limit the payouts if you have a lower league team in it.
Yeah, like you've got to factor that in. I think football-wise, even on lower leagues, say like I'd probably go down to as low as, I've done conference bets before, but I'd go down maybe to as low as League 2 in England. I did go non-league, did go like Northern Premier a couple of years ago on a Victor Chandler bet on a BetVictor account, and we didn't know how that was going to be settled just because the non-league stuff was under football specials rather than football anti-post, and the football specials had max payouts of 10 grand. Luckily, the bet got beat, so we didn't have to worry about it. We didn't have to challenge it, but it's something you've got to factor in. Football, to be honest with you, I'm not really betting individual markets to take out 500k usually. And like you're saying on the multiples, I usually you've got to factor it in. But if I only really consider it if I've got a bet that's going to pay over 6 figures, and then tend to try and split it around different slips if it's in a shop or different accounts online and stuff like that. So just try and avoid it that way, essentially.
Can you do multiples on Pinnacle? I've never actually tried.
To be honest with you, I don't use Pinnacle to bet.
Yeah,
I use them as a reference point, but I don't bet with them.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I don't even know if you can from Ireland. Maybe you can. You definitely couldn't when I was in the UK. So yeah, I don't know. I don't use them basically. I know guys that do. I have access to the accounts if I want them, but I just use them as a reference point because Pinnacle and Chris and bookmakers like that tend to be pretty good on the football stuff. Like, it's not that I lean more towards the early week and the limits are lower and stuff like that. So I find it's just better using them as a reference point and playing elsewhere for a higher ROI.
Yeah, I had a multiple on the weekend, like a Yankee, and it was going to pay, if it won, it was going to pay out like 30 grand Australian or something, and I looked back and they'd only allowed me have like $11 on because they said we got to process this, and they're like, yeah, it's accepted, and I go in. I could have just left it and been like, oh great, it got accepted. I go in and they'd accepted 5% of my stake. I was like, you fucking wankers.
Standard, part of the course online at the moment, but
yeah.
You're doing well. You must be doing well.
Sorry, mate.
You must be doing well. On the last podcast, you were telling me you were in London and you weren't a smart better than, and now it's 5%. Right.
Mate, I was in Mexico last time.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Oh, Jesus. All right. Marinac009 says, could you give a few advices for beginner sports bettors? Loves your pod, by the way.
Cheers, much appreciated. Appreciate that. Yeah, like advice for beginners would be, you really want to, whatever price you're taking, you tend to want to be beating whatever the market's closing at, and that should be your aim more than trying to bet winners, essentially. Like, if you're beating the closing line, you've already won theoretically, and that's the state you want to get to. So whenever you're having a bet, check a minute before it starts. If you're just checking bookmaker websites, and just see what the price is then, or see what something like an exchange price is, or for a closing line if it's a liquid enough market. And if you're beating the closing price, you're probably doing all right. And if you're not, you probably just want to rethink your approach, because whether you win or not, you probably want to be getting above the odds regardless of the result.
Yeah, I guess good example of one you sent through to me 24 hours ago, the Celtic game. So what did it end up closing at?
Yeah, we ended up betting something at 1.83 and it closed 161 and got beat.
Yeah.
So brain's done today, but yeah. So theoretically I'm a winner, but when I check my bank account, I'm a little bit lighter today. So, but that's the way you want to be. You want to just don't get too down about the losses, and just keep placing the plus EV bets, and you'll be all right. Yeah,
I mean, you're getting something at 1.83 and it's closing at 1.6. Like, that's a ton of value.
Yeah.
So, yeah, mate, keep your spirits up.
Yeah, man. I'm just waiting to get something back in return off you, you know.
Brian Fleming, sorry, mate. What is your tips for betting selection and narrowing down your choices to specific game or games?
Narrowing, it depends on the sport. Like, if you're horse racing, if it's horse racing, I'd just be trying to price the race, or grain racing, I'd be just trying to price the race. A good thing to look for, just as a basic starting point, is when you disagree on the price of the favourite, because the favourite's taking the biggest percentage essentially of the market up. So if your favourite's priced correctly, it's less likely you're going to find something lower down the market that's going to be a bet, essentially. So like in a horse race, if there was something that if the favourite's priced incorrectly and it's the wrong price, and I can then look further down the board, and then if I know that the favourite, or in my opinion the favourite, is priced incorrectly or priced too cautiously, and it should be a bigger price, and I think it's going to drift. If it's going to drift, then someone else is going to shorten, and I just want to find the thing that's going to shorten, and then that apply generally to other sports as well. Slightly different with football and stuff. You'd be tracking different metrics in football, and a lot of closing line prices and how prices have changed in previous weeks, basically. But yeah, get something where the favourite's very underpriced, and then one or two of them are going to shorten up, and then try and find the ones that are going to shorten up. Like I just, as a general rule, if I was looking at a horse race, for example, I don't want to see the bookmakers' prices really, because it might influence me. I want to do my own price and then compare to the bookmakers' prices after that. So everything I do before that would be just independent of the bookmakers' prices. And then if something's way off, maybe I'm wrong, or there's some kind of meet in the middle strategy going on, where my price is too much the wrong way and the bookmakers is too much the wrong way, and the true price is somewhere in between, or like it really does depend. But like a good thing on a race or something would be just looking for the wrong priced favourites, and favourites that have got blowout potential is what I'd say. So like favourites that are coming back off a layoff or running on the wrong ground or something like that, and you just know that they're either gonna win or they're gonna blow out. I kind of like trying to find selections like that, because then that can feed into other markets like match bets and things like that, and they can be priced incorrectly, knowing that it's the same in golf as well. Like the spread of it, like Rory McIlroy would be a good example in golf. He's either going to play really well or he's going to play appalling and not much in between. So they're handy for different markets like match bets, those type of players.
Yeah, I found it interesting what you said on the podcast last time, and I probably should have followed up on it a little bit, but you said something like I think I asked you what sports do you bet on or something like that, and you said I basically bet on all sports. I just sit here, what's on this weekend kind of thing, and then I'll just price it up. Like, how are you able to just randomly price up an event? Because I mean, I assume you don't just watch every sport in the world and then, all of this.
Yeah, I'd have a good general knowledge of a lot of sports. Like,
I think you said like cycling or something like that. I was like,
yeah,
all right, he knows cycling too. This man knows everything.
Yeah, no, I follow cycling for maybe 5 weeks a year, a little bit of Giro and a little bit of Tour de France, and I'll do my prep on it before then. And I price stuff up individually, and I won't even look at cycling. I won't have a clue what's going on in cycling now. I don't know who's riding for who, don't know anything, but I'll do a load of work just before the Tour de France starts. And you'll find that the people that you're taking on that are setting the lines, like they either love cycling and they're not as good as me at pricing stuff, is what I'd find, or cycling's being passed around at a company and there's no one with a specific knowledge of it. Like the cycling guy at a big bookmaker could be just a lad who likes riding 20 kilometers at the weekend on his bike, and then the cycling odds compiler. So it really does depend. Yeah, it depends. And then you find out some guys, if you look at looking at odds checker and stuff like that, if it actually updates for a change, but like you'd work out who the good guys are even if you don't know who they are, just because the prices would be just good. And I can track, if I might be wrong as well, but I can track against closing line and different things and see which way the market's going, and that I kind of just try and evolve and try and what have I missed there if that's gone off something different to what I make it, sort of thing. But my knowledge of cycling would be absolutely minimal. But I'll do a lot of work before the Tour de France and a couple of days before and before each stage and stuff like that.
Yeah. So do you don't have like models for different sports or anything like that?
Yeah. Like, it's funny, like models. Do I model anything personally? No. But do I work with people that model stuff? Yeah. So like my approach is, I think I'm really good at markets and working out which way markets are going to move. Kind of like I know that's kind of like Spanky's whole game, just judging by what people have said and what I've heard on podcasts of him, is just like he kind of is quite happy that he knows nothing about sport, and I try and know a little bit about sport, but I think I'm good at predicting markets and seeing what's going on. People, you tend to find that a lot of guys will then say, well, I can't code, I can't Python this, this, and my approach was always that if I start to learn to code and I put a load of time into it and I spend the next 6 months trying to get good at coding, I think I'd probably be the 10th millionth best person in the world at it. So my approach was just like, I'm not going to get good enough to be better than the guys that are bloody good now, and it's going to cost me a hell of a lot of time to put the work in. So I was just like, I'm not going to code anything. and I'm just going to find the guys that are bloody good at coding and see if that I can offset some of my skills to help them out, and they can offset some of those to help me out, and then it'd work that way, sort of thing. So I'd love to be able to code. I wish I had the educational background that would have given me a head start in coding, and I would have gone to bloody Harvard or Yale or whatever and been very good at coding, but it just wasn't an option for me. So I try and use some of those guys, essentially, not so much Harvard, but guys that are good at coding and outsource that, essentially.
Yeah, nice, mate. Kurt Stankavage says, I assume you meant how do professionals continue doing it for a living without getting limits lowered or kicked out?
Yeah, I get kicked out all the time, lowered. I haven't bet in my own name for 10 years, 8 years maybe. Like, getting kicked out is just... I remember the very first time, I remember the Bet365 account that I had in my own name when I was working at Betfred, and when they restricted me and then closed me, I was so delighted. I was like, Christ, like, Bet365 have closed me. Like, I've really cracked it. And then you get past that stage of thinking you're smart when a bookie closes you, and then it's just work to get on. And then I've gone through stages of just blowing out accounts on the first day I get them, and now just maybe there's another step down the line, but my step at the moment is to cultivate and harvest accounts and keep them going a hell of a lot longer and seed them, as I mentioned on the podcast here. And I think I've been able to get paid easier doing that, because I've got a big history by the time I get closed. And I've also, I can't remember what I was going to say, I've been able to get paid, and I've been able to get more money out of the accounts, basically doing that. Less variance of the one big hit. It's not all winners like in my game. So less variance, and just being able to maintain accounts for longer is serving me a lot better at the moment. But kicking out is part of the course. It's how you react to it. They want you to give up or do little bets every now and then and not focus on it. But I kind of went the opposite way and put a lot of work into it, and now it's my job, basically. Yazoo.
Love it, mate. So you don't spend this is the next question, actually. Do you trade on the Betfair exchanges then?
Like I mentioned to you last time, I think my Betfair account was behind. Since then, I'm on premium charge now, so it's been a good few months. But that's now brought its own. That's the first time I've been premium charged, so that's going to bring another. If BetDAC are listening and want to up some liquidity, I'd be happy to help. But premium charges just puts another obstacle in the way there, so just something else to think about going forward, basically.
Yeah, I was BetDAC obviously don't offer that much liquidity, but they actually do. Yeah, I've noticed that on UFC though, they always have decent liquidity. It's just a bit random. Yeah.
It's just one sport. I know you guys did a pod on it and you're very good at it, but it's just one sport that I've just never followed. So I think I've dipped in. I used to, probably like everyone else that doesn't follow UFC week to week, I would have watched Conor McGregor and kind of got an idea of it around that and got a bit obsessed with him a few years ago. But nothing much since then, to be honest with you. So it's not good to me.
Does anyone in Ireland like him anymore?
I'm slightly different. I kind of try and separate the person from the achievements. I'm it's hard to speak to the females and the family about how much you like him, but I'd be a big fan of his, to be honest with you. I can separate out the guy that wants to punch people in the pub from what he's achieved, sort of thing. And I kind of separate that out with all my sportsmen. I don't need my sportsmen to be morally perfect. I just want them to do great things, and I think he was just very impressive, and he really captivated me, basically. Anyway, so yeah.
He captivated the whole world.
Yeah.
All right, let me see what else we've got here. Carl from the UK says, what's some of the most inventive ways you've got bets on?
Jesus. yeah, I don't know. You're always you're always having to rely on other people a little bit for getting bets on. I do bits and pieces myself, like basic stuff like COVID and going in shops with a mask on has kind of helped and things like that. But like you're always trying to look for in shops the disillusioned member of staff who doesn't give a toss, and looking for an online. Online is just different accounts. Like I've not won a wig or anything like that, but I don't know. It's tough to answer off the hop. I could maybe think of something in a day or two, but just always using different people, and you're relying on different people, but nothing more elaborate than that, really. I don't think.
Yeah, sorry. You said you were using a mask for a bit, eh? Are you probably still
like a COVID mask. Like I'm, like you'd be half wearing it anyway, but like it's kind of handy. And if you stick a mask on, and like I love the bright winter days over here when it's freezing but bright. So you've got the mask on, you've got the bobble hat on, and you've got the sunglasses on as well. You can barely see your face, so it's like you look a bit of a tool with the sunglasses on inside. But apart from that, it's all good.
Yeah. That's all right, mate. As long as you can get your bet on, you can look like as much of a tool as you want. Before I get to the next question, for those on the stream, if you could give it a quick like, that would be tremendous. Maybe just send a quick link to your betting friend. Tell them how good it's going, and then maybe we'll get some more people in. Tom Payne is back. He says, "Why do bookies restrict you if you're betting on the lower leagues? If they don't like your betting on them, why do they offer them in the first place?" Great question.
Yeah, it's a good question, but it's a simple enough answer. They win money overall. Like the amount of guys making a lot of money out of it is probably a hell of a lot smaller proportion than the amount of customers they've got that stood in the stands having a tenner on and stuff like that. Like they make money out of it basically. No matter what I do, bookmakers are going to make money overall, or they should do. So that's why they offer it. Essentially, it's the age-old. If you're restricting me and you don't want these bets, why do you offer them in the first place? They offer them because they win money on them overall, because the majority of customers lose to them. So that's basically it.
Yeah. Along the same lines, Marinac says, what soccer markets are you betting on?
So I have a couple of different guys that I speak to that would specialize in different leagues worldwide. And we try and filter some of them bets through the UK. And then myself personally, with the stuff that I price up myself personally, I kind of focus, as some people will know and some people will lament. There's a couple of different markets that I focus on. Top goal scorer markets are kind of my speciality. I've had a lot of success in top goal scorer markets, and Jamie Vardy was the one last year, betting Jamie Vardy at 20-1 down. I think the last price I took Vardy was 11-2. And we got a lot of money on him over a number of weeks, all the way down. He was like a 6-figure winner for me last year.
Wow.
And yeah, it was good. And I try not to sweat games, like it's all variance and I should come out overall. But once on those markets, when you're betting him in like September, October, and it's the middle of May and it's the last game of the season, and Aubameyang scores a couple, I think he got, and he needed one more to tie on the last day, and he got put through 1-on-1 with 10 minutes left and made an absolute balls of it. Like, I kind of sweated that, I must admit. And then Danny Ings was 2 behind going into the last day. Danny Ings scored a penalty with about 10 minutes left, and he was 1 behind as well. And I've got a couple of TVs here. I couldn't even watch the Leicester United game. I had Southampton on, I had Arsenal on, and it was a little bit torturous, but he got it done and got over the line in the end and beat those 2 lads by 1. So that was nice. But I've had a lot of success in them in lower leagues, and even some of the lower European leagues and stuff like that. They're just priced horrifically. Like, one of the best ones I ever had. Like, as Mark Hughes alluded to from Bannock on his podcast with you, I'm a Rochdale fan. I get the Rochdale reference in there now. So Rochdale are my team. And a couple of years ago, it was about 8 years ago, Scott Hogan, who ended up at Aston Villa, and he was at Brentford and Aston Villa, and I don't even know where he is now. Is he at Birmingham now? He's had a load of injuries. He was a very good player. I think he went to Villa for about 12 million a couple of years ago. He used to play up front for us. And that season, Sam Winnall at Scunthorpe had 19 goals or something like that. And Scotty Hogan had 18. And the nearest guy to them had about 13. So those two were pretty clear. And it was the end of March time-ish, maybe start of April. And Rochdale played away at Bury live on Sky, and I flew over for the game. And after about 10 minutes, this is live on Sky Sports, after about 10 minutes, Scott Hogan went down with a knee injury. And they basically said in the interview after the game, like the manager said, he's out for the season. If we're in the playoffs, he'll be back in the playoffs. And the bookies revised the market. It was a Friday night game, so they revised it. And then the next morning, the markets were there. And they had basically Hogan and Winnall both like even money the next day, the two of them. Even though your man was out for the season, it was live on the telly. So like that was slightly profitable.
Wow.
That was like public information. Like it just was not spotted by the bookies. Like whoever revised it first, everyone else copied. No one's looking at the markets. Even Rochdale fans wouldn't be looking at who's going to be top scorer in League Two. So that was very profitable. And you get that situation, maybe not as good as that, but all little different situations like that over a course of a season. If you're actually just tracking the markets, it's a piece of piss to make money, basically. It's not hard.
Yeah. No, it's very, very good point. I mean, I posted this on my Twitter the other day, the draw no bet Asian handicap +0 market on, I won't say what bookmaker it is because I wouldn't mind keeping my account, but it was just ridiculous. I think, what is it, like draw no bet was 1.83 and Asian handicap +0 was 1.55 or something. I'm like, how the fuck does that happen? It's just like,
it shouldn't happen, to be honest. Yeah,
I know, like, why wouldn't it just be like, why wouldn't it just be the same thing? Like you change one price, the other one goes with it. Like,
yeah, it should. But
have they not heard of technology?
I'd be looking out for it. I wouldn't have tweeted it if I was you. I would have kept it to yourself and looked out for it on other games.
Yeah, I'm not as good as you, mate. Classic. All right, next question. Carl UK says biggest win and biggest loss.
Been part of a syndicate of guys that have won £1 million twice. And we got paid on one of them, so that was good. But that wasn't all me, so I was a proportion of that. So that was a good day. Biggest loss in a day, 30 grand maybe, 35 grand maybe, something like that. Yeah, depends.
Yeah,
not bigger than that.
How many bets do you reckon you get down on a weekend?
Over the course of a week, individual bets, I don't know, depends. I wish it was a lot more. 100 maybe. Yeah. Nothing. Not massive bet volume. I tend to find stuff that I think's wrong, and then there might be a lot of individual bets on the stuff, but like overall, I just can't. I'd tie it. If I bet some at 10s and I bet it again at 8s, I just put down the whole amount in 9s, sort of thing. Do you know? It's so individual selections maybe 80, 100, but like actual bet count would be higher than that. Yeah.
Right. Marinak is back. Thanks for tuning in, mate. Lots of great. Sorry, mate.
It's a good job Marinak is here, isn't it? Keep it coming.
Yeah, exactly. How good is the closing line at Betfair when compared to Pinnacle overall? Are some sports better on Betfair/Pinnacle?
Yeah, like I kind of just, I'd have a lot of respect for Pinnacle. I've probably got more on a lot of the stuff I do. No offense to Pinnacle. I know Pinnacle is very good, but I'd have a little bit more respect for Chris at the moment, to be honest with you. I think Chris's prices are pretty good.
On every sport?
A lot of the stuff that I'm focusing on, yeah. Don't want to go into too much depth, but like, Bet Chris are very good. I'd just say Bet Chris are very good. Betfair's closing line, I always tend to look at that retrospectively, so I'm not tracking it in real time. Betfair can be slightly, I suppose it's not a true price as such. there's not someone looking over the true price. So say if you've got you see it the odd time on Greyhound sort of thing. If you're coming up to the last race of the day and the favourite it'll get bet into a price that just doesn't make much sense to me, or it didn't. And that can be just a guy trying to get out, and there's no one at the pinnacle end sort of thing. There's no one behind the computer really at 9:22 on a Thursday evening saying, no, you're wrong about this and I'll stand this for whatever. Like, it's which pinnacle can do. So I think it depends on certain examples basically. But yeah, I use Chris for a lot of stuff on from that side basically. Yeah, don't know if that answers the question, but
yeah, I mean, talking to lots of other people, mate, a lot of them say that BetChris is sharper on American sports.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of American sports. I don't know barely anything about American sports, I must say. Like I do the kind of cycling approach to basketball. I'll have a look at basketball and like team wins and stuff like that before a season starts, and the season starts in the next couple of days. But like that kind of thing, and I'll be comparing different lines and how they've moved and trying to predict different things and trying to find out different things. But yeah, like Chris are very good at that kind of stuff. I think as just a general rule, you want to look for the books that have got the highest limits, and the books that have got the highest limits as a general rule. So if you get a new account with every single bookie and just put in them, just find out what the max bet is on the account, and the ones that are willing to take more money off you tend to have the sharper prices. That's why they're willing to take more money off you, and I think that's a good rule. The ones that have got very low limits, you can take the prices with a pinch of salt. Basically, the higher the limit, they must have confidence in that price to offer the higher limit, and I think that's just a good guide.
Yeah, no, it's a great point, mate.
And Chris have got high limits, and so
yeah, certainly. Peter Sainsbury, mate, your best mate. I assume this is the Peter that we know.
Yeah.
Good to see you, mate. He's a great podcast with Peter. A couple episodes before your one, mate. Yeah. He has asked favorite book that's influenced your betting.
Well, Peter's an author now. Peter's got 2 books himself now. So if you're into the motor racing and you're into the Formula One, I got into Peter and met Peter in person near his house, and I met him just because I read his book on Formula One. So he had a book on Formula One, and I kind of liked. It's only 60 or so pages. It's more like a betting based book on Formula One. And I know, again, I watch Drive to Survive. I don't follow Formula One. I'm not a petrol head. I could not. My car broke in the week, and it's embarrassing when I go into the garage and try and talk about it because I'm like a 5-year-old girl trying to explain what's wrong with my car. So I know nothing about cars, and I've never been into cars at all. But like Peter's big into the old Formula One. He's written a book about it, and I read his book, and like a lot of the nuances of what he was speaking about kind of appealed to me because it's kind of what I was doing on other sports, and that's why I wanted to meet him. So I got in touch with him, and we met and had a coffee, and we've spoke ever since basically. So on Formula One, I'm looking at my bookshelf here, trying to find Peter's book on Formula One, but I can't find it. But yeah, if you stick it into Amazon, you'll pick it up for nothing, and it's a good read anyway. So I'd recommend that. Just in general, I think I'm always looking for the different like principles rather than just. I don't want to read a book and anyone that's who thinks they're telling you how to win money. It's just they don't really exist, to be honest with you. They're either books that are retrospectively about somebody who has won money in the past and what worked for them in the past, or it's just nonsense. Basically, is what I find with a lot of betting books. So I've a heap of books. Like my bookshelf is ridiculous. What would I say? Like just in general, my favorite book in general is a biography of Warren Buffett by, I think she's called Alice Schroeder, and it's about 1,000 pages long, and it basically goes through Warren Buffett's life in unbelievable detail. It's called The Snowball. It's the best book I've ever read. I think it's just brilliant, and it'll just teach you a lot of things, just general principles, but not betting related. Basically, I don't think there's nothing to do with betting, but like it's just more a way of thinking. More than books that have told me what to do, and a light has come on. It's more just like a way of thinking, basically trying to find value and value applies to a million different fields. Betting's just one of them. So that I'd highly recommend that if anyone's got maybe the next lockdown, you've got the time to read a 1,000-page book, but that would be a good one. But just in general, like he divides opinion, but Patrick Veach in horse racing, it's just someone who's done it. Like a lot of people hate him, probably like a few people involved in horse racing aren't so fond of me, but Patrick Veach is he's kind of made money, and that's like I don't want to. I've never been that keen on really going out of my way to make friends. Like I'm here to win money. When it comes to gambling, I've got friends. I don't need more of them. And Patrick Veach has just gone out there and made money, and in a smart way. And whether it works now, I don't know. I don't know what he's doing now. But yeah, like his book's very good. I think it's called Public Enemy Number One or something like that, or Enemy Number One or something like that. I've a million books. I could, if someone wants to email me and ask me, I can send you 100 books to read, because I love reading basically.
Yeah. I'll have to read. What's his name? Peter's book, because I've heard lots of great things about it.
Yeah, it's good.
And I love the Drive to Survive. Is that what it's called? That's the best. I think it's the best sports documentary I've ever watched, because I have never watched a Formula One race in my life, and I was hooked.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Like even like it's like you're always trying to sneak off and watch sport in front of the telly, and your missus wants you to do something. Like your missus will watch it with you. It's bloody good. Like it's
my missus wouldn't, mate. I can guarantee that. Well, the problem is in Australia, it's on at the very early hours in the morning. But I think when I was living in Norway, I watched I just switched it on. It was on the telly, and mate, she wasn't a fan, so that went off pretty quickly. All right, Tom Payne's back again. Cheers for sticking around, Tommy. He says, "What's the best and worst bookies for paying out?"
I think it all just depends on your personal experience, doesn't it? Like you can talk quite easily about the ones that just don't take bets, because everyone has the same experience of that one. I think the ones that the best and worst for paying out, I think it's all dependent on your bet history. If you're Barney Curley, you're probably not so keen on Betfred. If you're other people, you're not so keen on different bookmakers. It depends on. Like, geez, I've had to sign 3 non-disclosure agreements with different bookmakers when I've been settled with, and so like there's no point going into names, I don't think, but yeah, non-disclosure agreements is just one thing that the Gambling Commission probably should have been all over here, because they can just hide behind just nonsense basically, and what you find that they hold a lot of your money. And then to get it back, Gambling Commission are inept, IBAS are inept, and lawyers are expensive. So then you've got to get the money back they hold of yours. You have to fork out a few quid for lawyers and stuff like that. And I just think it's wrong. Basically, we all have disagreements about the way we go about things, but some people say it about me as well. But like just some of the things I've seen from the other side, just. Behavior not becoming. I think I kind of agree. It's there's good bookies, and it's kind of different for everyone, isn't it? Like I think it just depends on so many different factors. Like you talk to people about certain bookmakers, and I'll be like, fuck, they've been so good to me, and then you'll hear people that have been limited within one day. So I think it's bit of a lottery. Maybe just general statement, you could just say they're all pretty ordinary. Yeah, at best.
All right, next question. Marinax says, I understand you said you don't follow MMA so much, but would be fun to hear your opinion on Mcgregor versus Poirier 2, and are you going to bet on the fight?
I'll be honest with you now. You're just asking the wrong person. I don't have an opinion. I've not followed it closely enough. I don't know what shape they're in. I don't know what's gone on in the last year.
Yeah.
I just have no opinion, and I'd be lying to you if I gave an opinion. So pass. Listen to the Trade Mates podcast about it, I'd say, because those guys know what they're talking about. And in that scenario, I probably am. I don't. So yeah.
Yeah, I think we quickly touched on it last podcast or the one before that. And I think generally it's a very general statement, but you're probably just better off betting Poirier because there's just such a high unlikeliness that there's going to be value on Mcgregor because of all the recreational money coming in. So
yeah, I think that's just that applies to a few different markets, doesn't it? Like elections and things like that, and it has in a few things of late. But like, just as the biggest bet I'd ever had on a single at the time was on Mayweather to beat Mcgregor. It's the biggest single bet I'd ever had. Not six figures, but not far off. And at the time, that was the biggest bet I'd ever placed. And it wasn't a case of, there was a guy, just as an aside, as a general story, there was a guy at Paddy Power who he was in trading, but he wasn't he wasn't an odds compiler as such. A guy called Joe Lee. He's a lovely fella as well if you ever get to meet him. But that market was priced up at the start when it was announced. The fight was announced. I think Mayweather was about 16s on or 14s on or something like that, and Mayweather was like 8-1 generally. And Jolie was one of the first guys. I'm pretty sure he was the first guy in the industry that took a massive opinion and basically made Paddy Power bet for. I think they went about 7-2 Mcgregor, and they went like 5s on or 6s on Mayweather. And I was sat at my desk, and in my head, I was talking to a few different guys, and I was like, Mayweather's going to win this quite obviously. Like this is a bet. And Paddy Power have just gone 6s on, and in my head, I was just like, what is Jolie doing? Like I don't understand. I don't understand this position. And very quickly, it became apparent that he was ahead of the game, and he was ahead of me. And it wasn't so much a matter of who you thought was going to win at that stage. It was what your average price laid was going to be, which is slightly different. It allows you to trade differently closer to the off when the volume's higher. So basically, all the bookies that were like 8 and 10-1, McGregor 9 months before the fight or whatever got filled in, but they didn't get publicity out of it. And as it got closer and closer to the fight, at 6s on, I would have bet him at 6s on, to be honest with you. But then it became apparent that the money's just going to keep coming on McGregor. And it wasn't a case of, am I going to bet Mayweather? It's when am I going to bet Mayweather? Because his price was just drifting and drifting and drifting. And I ended up getting on at 3-10, so 1.3. And even I got the price wrong. Like he drifted even further. I think just before the fight, he was about 135, 136, wasn't he?
Really? Wow.
Yeah, he drifted and drifted. And after the first 2 rounds where Mayweather barely touched him and they danced around for a couple of rounds. And I think McGregor might have hit him, got an uppercut.
McGregor got a real good uppercut, yeah.
An uppercut. Something happened where he basically did catch him at one stage, just with one punch, essentially. And after the end of the second round, I think on Betfair, like Mayweather was like 144, 145 after the second round of the fight. And I've only ever seen that fight once, and I was probably delirious because I'd stayed up for it. But like, it wasn't like just that generally, it wasn't what price are you going to bet him? It was what price you're going to bet him at. And I didn't even take, you're talking about closing line value. I bet him 1.3 and he drifted further than that. So it's just a good story about how sometimes, and Paddy Power were able to then lay McGregor at top price basically when all the publicity was the days before, the week before the event, because they hadn't laid it at all at the silly prices before, basically. Yeah. Even though they probably weren't silly prices, but like, yeah, it's just interesting. Yeah. Marionac
says if I knew back then that Mayweather was 1.36, I would have put my house on it. So yeah, it's a good point because
it was just interesting. He was 49-0, wasn't he? Like, and I'm no boxing aficionado, but like there was no way he was going to take a dive or something like that and just ruin the perfect record as well. Nah. You could really put a line through that, couldn't you? Like sometimes with these novelty fights, you never know what's going to happen because they can make even more money having another fight after it, sort of thing. But that angle was out of the question, and it was just a case of can you get on, basically, and how much can you get on? Yeah,
and yeah. Once again, everyone, if you could just give the old stream a quick like if you're enjoying the content, like Carl here. He says, loves the honesty given out so far. But he wants a bet, mate. He wants a little tip. You got a little tip for Carl here and all our listeners?
What was I betting this week that hasn't moved? Like there's a market. It depends in. There's one. It depends what your appetite is. Basically, in horse racing, for example, in the UK, I don't know Marinek that's got a Croatian vibe to it. So I don't know if you'd be following UK horse racing, but there's the Trainers Championship in the UK, and it's basically between Paul Nicholls and Nicky Henderson. And Paul Nicholls, I think he's 2-5, so 1.4 with Bet365, and he's 1.33 generally with other bookmakers. And I make that about 1.12 or something like that. I just make it just totally the wrong price. So I've been getting a few quid on that recently. And that price is still there as far as I know. But yeah, that's 40% for nothing, basically. I think that's just going to be a winner. All the stuff that's settling in the coming weeks, I don't know really. Like a lot of the stuff I do, I'm kind of looking into the future. I've not re-rated any football from the weekend, so I don't really know for next weekend and stuff like that yet, because it's a Sunday night. So yeah, I don't know. A lot of my stuff I tend to bet it, and it's usually moving, to be honest with you. So it's hard for me to then tip stuff up for you. Like I've got a big position on Mo Salah, top scorer in the Premier League. I was like a little bit heartbroken when he didn't start the other day, but he came on and scored 2. So wasn't the end of the world. And the logic behind Mo Salah is basically Liverpool have got 4 forwards and Origi, if you count him as well. They basically got 4 forwards. Diego Jota's injured for 6 to 8 weeks. That was came out the other day that it was going to be 6 to 8 weeks after the Salzburg game. I think it was Salzburg. So they've got 3 forwards. My logic was he's going to play a lot of minutes. Now, he didn't start the other day, so say what you like about my logic, but he's going to play a lot of minutes. He seems to play Salah, even in dead rubbers. Just Salah plays a lot of minutes. Doesn't get injured, which is a big thing. Like you have to factor in a lot of things. If you're in top goal scorer markets, availability is a big thing. So you're looking for people that are available a lot. Now, Vardy had a few issues. I know I bet Vardy last year, but he was out for a month around Christmas. Tends to have a couple of little hamstring niggles and stuff like that. He's a year older. He's not a young guy. Is he 33, 34? I don't know how old he is, but he's not a young guy. Still fast as fuck, but he's not a young guy. So you'd expect the body to be slowly catching up with him. I know he scored again today. Harry Kane, he's always a hamstring and a ankle injury away from ruin. He's a great player, but you don't want to be putting money on Harry Kane. Like, he might win, but like if you're taking 4-1 and there's 5 months left of a season, I can find better bets than that if he wins or not. So there's question marks about a lot of them. Like penalties are a big thing with VAR. Salah's on penalties. I know the other 2 are as well, but like Calvert-Lewin, for example, at Everton, who's the 4th favourite, doesn't take penalties for Everton, which is a big thing. So just Liverpool are going to score a lot of goals. Egypt don't play until the summer, so he's got no international duty. His brother's been married, so he's not going to get COVID in Egypt again. Like there's a lot of pluses with Salah at the moment. And obviously, like, he scored 2 and now he leads, so I can't really put him up to you, to be honest with you. But I think he, just as an each-way bet a few weeks ago, he was a knocking each-way bet, basically. 4 places. Like, he's going to have to get injured to be out of the first 4. And he's probably, whatever price he is generally, he probably should be slightly shorter than that, in my opinion.
The movie channel says, any thoughts on scalping Betfair?
Scalping Betfair, like, I know it depends where you are in the. I said this the last time on the podcast. It depends where you are in the. Generally, it doesn't really work on horse racing, to be honest with you, because the limits are so low on horse racing that you get a lot of false moves on horse racing. So you need to just be careful. Wherever there's no liquidity, just tread carefully, because you might be betting arbs and stuff like that. But I'd just always be treading very carefully. If you're starting out and you've got a low bankroll and you need to build your bankroll and you don't mind losing your first set of accounts, I think I've no problem with your arbing and trying to add 20% or 50% or whatever to your bankroll. Like, do whatever suits you. I'm just past that stage. I think now, I just don't do it anymore. And I think you want to try and get to a level where you're building up to get bigger bets on, and just on stuff like that, it's just not an option for me. I've never done it, to be honest with you, as well. So like, it wouldn't have been my approach. But I'm not saying it doesn't work. It definitely, in general, it's going to work for you. But it just depends what your risk appetite is as well. Like if you're slightly risk averse and you're starting off, kick on. But it's not something I do now anyway, for sure.
Yeah. Tommy Payne says, you say you use other people's accounts to get on. Do you have many disagreements of what percentage to pay them?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, Tom. See, just give me 1 second there. Jesus, my laptop is on. My laptop's on 1%. I can see. Just bear with me 1 second. Sorry.
All right, I'll try hold the fort while our man is away, and hopefully he doesn't lose battery, and we can stay. Oh, he's gone. So we'll have to. Or maybe he's not gone. Yeah, no, I think he's gone. So we might have to wait 5 minutes for Anthony to come back. But we'll see how we go. Yeah, I mean, maybe people don't, but they might have any questions for me. I'm not the most interesting bloke, but if you've got any questions about trade, mate, I can more than happy to answer. In the meantime, while Anthony is away, so I'll let you guys send them in. Actually, he might be back here. Oh, that was quick, mate.
Hello?
Yeah, are you there, mate?
Fucking hell. That was on 60. That was on 60. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
That was on 68% when I started. This thing must eat battery.
Yeah, it certainly does, mate. No, you're right.
It's on permanent now, so I apologise for that. That was poor form.
That's all good. I tried to hold the fort, mate. I didn't do a great job, but
no, good. So what were we at anyway?
Yeah. So do you have many disagreements of what percentage to pay the peoples whose accounts you use?
I wasn't stalling there, Tom. I promise you. That was a genuine error from me. Disagreements with people. To be honest, I tend to use a lot of people that I know. Like I've been very hesitant in the last few years since I left employment just to speak too much about what I do. So like the first time I've ever spoke about what I do is to the guys at TradeMate and the podcast. But I think that was probably slightly misplaced because a couple of guys that I've met from who saw the TradeMate podcast since, and I've dealt with a couple of guys that listen to that and like what they heard, and they're involved in the basically commission agents who help get bets on and stuff. And I've got a track history of doing that. So from the podcast that I did, I've been able to deal with a few different people that can get bets on. And the way that I tend to do it is people tend to realize that I'm going to win money. Excuse me. Now, my variance is a big thing as well in this game. But what people tend to find is, even from just either listening to me or seeing the bets that I've had or the value that I get in my bets, they realize that they're going to win money basically if they follow me. And at best, I don't pay any percentage. People tend to want to go over the top. So if I want $2,000 on something, they might place $2,500 or even more. And that's how they get paid basically. And it suits me because I don't pay a percentage. And it suits them because they win money themselves. And that tends to be the best. It's the best way for me. And it's good for them because they're getting smart bets. And that tends to be the way it works. I have guys that send me stuff and I help them get on as well. And everyone's doing, it's kind of tends to be quite a small circle of people. I know there's a good few people that make money out of gambling. But once you when you're trying to scale up, there's not that many people doing the scaling up sort of thing. So you tend to you don't all know each other, but you know a lot of similar people, and we all we've all got the same problems. So like there's no getting 2% or 3% out of different things is immaterial. Basically, you want the connection of the person more than the 3%. Basically.
Yeah. No, that's very interesting. So nowadays you're saying that like in terms of finding people to bet with or use their accounts, basically, is it more so like you're not actually like going out there and like researching and, maybe like, putting job adverts out there or anything like that? It's more so just like the connections you form throughout the industry.
Yeah, I've actually considered that you say about the job adverts. I did consider it for, and I know a friend who does similar. And so like in Dublin, you've got a few universities in Dublin, basically, and students tend to be, as you know from yourself, if you've been a student at university, you tend to be skint. And there's a lot of shops knocking around Dublin. And I did consider putting an advert like in some kind of UCD, like the university that's it's actually near Paddy Power's office. There's Trinity. There's a few different things. There's a few different colleges and university around Dublin. And I did consider trying to get students for like a little shop team. And I know a guy who's got some, and it's worked for him. But it's just I've never actually got around to it, sort of thing. I tend to find that, yeah, like I actually don't know personally if I've got enough business for them, and you'd be half wasting the time, sort of thing. But yeah, it's kind of working for me at the moment just to outsource the bet placement side of things and focus a little bit more on I work on the financials of moving money around, and I work on finding the bets and dealing with other smart people and seeing what they're doing this week and what's coming up and stuff like that. The bet placement is best outsourced, I've found, just as a use of my time.
Yeah. Okay. John Smith says, what would be the biggest percentage of your bankroll you would risk on a bet?
Yeah, it depends where I'm at as well. Like if I've got, like I said this, I think I alluded to this on the podcast I did with you guys. If I've got 500 quid in my bank account and I found a big mistake, I'd stick the 500 quid on. If I've got a lot more than that in my bank account, your appetite for getting your whole bankroll in is a lot less. You tend to find that you can't do it. Like my level of bankroll is okay now. So like if I want a massive bet because I found a big mistake, I can't get that. I wouldn't be able to invest a lot of my bankroll on the stuff that I'm doing. So like it's kind of it's just not something I overthink too much. I know people have all the Kelly strategies, like I said previously, half a Kelly, quarter Kelly, but like on a lot of the stuff I'm doing, I don't know if I'm going to get laid a bet or I'm going to get knocked back or I'm going to. I don't know what I'm going to get, and it'd fuck with your strategy anyway. So like I just don't. It's hard enough. It's not hard, but like finding bets and getting bets on, and I tend to just go with the flow. Like we were talking about the football bet Alex got sent the other day. Like I probably technically overstaked on that, but I bet it at 1.83. It's gone off 1.6. I'm not going to sweat it. Like I'd sweat it more if it went off 1.9 than what I'd got on, sort of thing. So I'm just sweating getting the prices right more than looking after my staking.
Yeah, when I was going to ask, because like when you're pricing up a bet, I talked to a fellow named Dan Chan about this on the podcast too, and he was saying that like he gets a bit worried that if he's pricing up an event, so let's just say Arsenal playing Everton on the weekend, let's just say you had, I don't know, I don't even remember what it closed at. Apparently Arsenal closed as favourite, which is just fucking ludicrous. But let's just say Arsenal are at 2.5.
Yeah,
and so let's just say they're at 2.5. You don't even look at the market, you price it up and you come out with a price of 2.0 or something for Arsenal. Like, are you like, that is very, very, very far off what the market is saying. Like, how do you look at that and go like, fuck, I must be missing something here? Or are you like, do you not even second guess yourself and you're like, Jesus, I've just found some value.
Yeah, it depends what it is. I think it depends. If it's Premier League football and I'm 2.0 and it's going off 2.5, I've fucked up. There's no doubt about it. Like, it's my bad. A lot of people, I had a WhatsApp thread about the Arsenal price, and there's a few things going around, and a lot of people that I deal with didn't think they should be favourite as well. But yeah, I think you'll find that a lot of big name teams, historically big name teams of recent years, the market can be a little bit slow catching up. Like, it's been slow enough catching up to how bad Celtic are this year. Like, if anyone watched the Scottish Cup final this year, Celtic are crap. Like, this year, they're poor. They're a very poor team, and it was very slow. The market was very slow to cotton on to Rangers being a lot better than Celtic this year. So I think it can depend. Like, I know Celtic won 9 leagues in a row, and Arsenal have been a top 4 team and slightly less of late. But the market can be slow to catch on to teams that are progressing quickly and regressing quickly as well, rather than it being slightly more an incremental regression sort of thing. So yeah, you can use that to your advantage. I think if my price is that far off, my price is probably wrong. But on a lot of these things, you tend to find it's, in that example, it wouldn't be somewhere in the middle, but like, it can be a little bit closer to your price. I think some people have described it as like directional, the way the price is going to move. Like, it's you might be right that the price is wrong, and you're directionally right, but you're not. Your price probably isn't right, but it's directionally right, and you can make money out of that. Yeah.
All right, Tom, it's back. He says, do you normally play singles or multiples or anything else?
Yeah, singles and multiples, to be honest with you. Like, depends how. A lot of it tends to be the execution of your strategy sort of thing. So like, all my bets should be plus EV. So whether I put them in singles or multiples isn't going to matter that much if I'm managing my bankroll right. It depends. Like, if I make 2 1.3 shots plus EV, sticking them in multiples is just, and singles, there's no real difference to me. Like, it's obviously a multiple. If it's plus EV, your individual selections, the multiple should be progressively getting better. It should be getting more and more plus EV. And the opposite of that is how bookmakers make money. The majority of customers are taking negative EV bets, and as they're putting them in multiples, it's getting more and more negative EV as a percentage, because it's compounding. The bad price is compounding, whereas in my head, the good price that I'm hopefully taking is compounding in a positive way as well. So it depends. Like, if just harking back to horse racing, for example, if there's 4 horses running that day, singles are fine. Multiples, lucky 15s, treble the odds, 1 winner on a lucky 15. If I have 1 winner and my singles a winner, like, there's different ways to mathematically play different variations of it. And some firms will give you a bonus the more selections you put in. So if you see that Bet365 and stuff like that on tennis and things like that, the more selections you add to the slip, the bigger bonus they're willing to offer you on the payout if all of them win. Well, the reason they're willing to give you that bonus is the majority of customers are placing negative EV bets. So they're getting out, once they've done the 5-fold, their bet is very negative EV if they don't know what they're doing. So the bonus is still going to make them money even after they've paid the bonus, should the 5 selections win. Whereas you can use that, if you're a plus EV bet, you can use that to your advantage, because you also, not only you getting the plus EV bet, you're getting the bonus on top. So it depends what it is, basically.
Yeah, Ladbrokes here do that, actually, where as soon as you put it in a multiple with, they give you like 2 price boosts a day. So I normally just put on 2 multiples every day of 1.3, 1.4, something like that, both value, and you just times them together. And over time, that's going to pay out, isn't it? Because I'm probably betting on things that Yeah.
Yeah, if they're giving you the bonus on top of a plus EV bet, and what you'll find is the multiples can help your account as well, which is good. Like, bookmakers are ingrained to think that a multiple business is good business. So if you're putting through plus EV multiple bets and getting bonuses on top, you might not even get. Your account might actually last as well. So you've took a hell of a lot of money off them. So yeah, it's horses for courses. It depends on individual. There'll be stuff that I want singles on. There's no point me doing multiples where if I've got 200 to 1 shots or 300 to 1 shots that I think should be 50 to 1. Probably going to want to be more staking on my singles just because for bankroll management purposes. But the doesn't negate from the fact that the multiple is going to be plus EV as well. It just is going to eat into my bankroll if I stake too heavily on that stuff.
Yeah. All right, mate. You can take a little break. We'll see if any more questions come through. How you feeling anyway, mate?
Yeah, man, I'm good. I'm not as nervous as I was last time, to be honest with you. I was absolutely shitting myself last time. But, I'm less nervous now. I'm getting used to it a little bit more, so which is good.
I remember you had notes and everything last time, then you didn't even use them.
It was ridiculous. I wrote out about 8 pages of notes just because, I was thinking, this podcast is going to last for half an hour. And I was like, how am I going to talk about gambling for half an hour? Like, I bore myself, sort of thing. And so I had all these notes just to prompt me, like, if you're struggling to speak about anything. And then I just talked nonsense for about an hour and a half. So, yeah. I was less, don't need the notes anyway. I've learned. Just go with it.
You still hold the record, mate, for the longest podcast, mate. So
never be beaten. As soon as it's beaten, you're getting me back on. How you getting on in Oz?
Good, mate. Yeah, it's superb.
Yeah.
This is it's going to be good. Take a few weeks off after this live stream. Actually, you've delayed my holidays, mate. So
good.
No, it'll be good.
I haven't actually seen. I've not looked that far ahead. But Aussie Open, is it the same time of year or what's going on there?
Yeah, I'll have a look for you. Australian Open. It's normally end of January, eh?
Yeah, sometime in January, isn't it?
Because, it says it's scheduled to start on Monday, February 8th. But the problem is that it's in Melbourne. So Melbourne's been pretty affected by COVID.
Okay.
They've got it under control now, but now it's all kicking off in Sydney. So, yeah, maybe it'll be all right. Yeah, and we're getting the good thing about Australian and New Zealand sports too is we've been getting huge crowds to. I mean, I went to a rugby. You probably heard of State of Origin before.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I went to State of Origin 3 about a month ago ish, and yeah, we got 50,000 there, so that was awesome.
Jesus, that's mad.
Bit of a rarity, eh?
We're not going to see anything like that for a good while, I think. Like, crowd-wise is just they're letting 2,000 back into football grounds at the moment. Just depending, doesn't even matter what the football. I was watching the highlights of some lower league football game the other day, and behind, I don't know if it was it Morecambe? It was some lower league team I was watching, and the fans were just like packed onto each other. And it just looked very bizarre. And then you've got grounds like, I presume it was the same at United against Leeds today. But like I was watching some Premier League games there. I can't remember the Premier League game I was watching. And there was like 2,000 fans in there, and they're not within 50 seats of each other. Whereas the lower league game all stood up behind the goal. Like they're all packed on it. Just logically, it's bizarre. Absolutely bizarre.
Yeah, it's crazy. All right, we've got a question come in from Marinak, and yeah, just fire through your questions, guys, for now, because we'll probably call it a day soon. So if you've got any last-minute questions, fire them through. Even though Anthony could probably go for about 5 hours, we'll let him go to bed at a normal hour, and maybe let me go back to bed. He says, "What is your sample size on a monthly basis? I assume above 2,000 trades."
Yeah, just I know the company's called TradeMate, but I just hate the word trade. I don't trade. I'm not a trader, so I bet. as far as I'm concerned. So
Yeah, I
it's
don't
just
know
like,
why it's called that. I don't know either.
Betmate, man, that's going to be my rival company when I No, like I'm just not a trader, to be honest with you. So like I wouldn't class myself as a trader. What I do isn't trading. Like my average price about Salah is about 9 to 2, 4 to 1 or something like that. And whatever he is now after today, he's probably going to be 9 to 4 or something. I don't trade. I'm not a trader. I bet stuff that I think is the wrong price, just first of all. So, oh God, we've got a lower league football question from Tom. Love that. But yeah, I'm just, I'm not a trader basically. So, but sample size on a monthly basis, like I was just alluding to before, individual selections, you're talking extrapolating the 8 to 100 a week. So you're talking 400, 500 a month maybe for me. But bet count could be 10 times that sort of thing if I'm just trying to get on everywhere and all different bookies sort of thing. So I'm not a volume. I try and be quality over quantity basically. So I don't need an ROI of 1% off a million trades, and people have been making a lot of money doing that, and fair play to them. But it's just not the way I go about it. I'm more about probably higher ROI on some of the stuff I do, and then I know that if the price is cut on some of my selections, that I probably want to go in at the next price as well, and that can help me get on volume wise. So there's an art more. I think I'm quite good at the art of bet placement. So if I'm trying to maximize how much I get on, that's kind of a big plus in what I do. So a good way of getting on is if every bookmaker on the board is 6 to 4 and one of them is 7 to 5, and I make it 11 to 10. I'm probably going to go to the 7 to 5 bookie first because I'm going to get more money on with him. Knowing that I'm going to take all the 6 to 4 as well. And I can get big bets on it, what he thinks is a lower price than the market at the time. So like that's kind of the way I go about it, sort of thing, to just increase my volume.
Yeah. Tremendous. Got old mate here trying to do a bit of advertisement on our stream. Good work, mate. Tom Payne is back. He goes, I'm on Crewe at 16 to 1 for promotion in League One. Do you think that's a good bet?
That's a belting bet. You only have to look at the market now to see it's a good bet, but it's a belting bet anyway. I was looking at them just before I came on this, and they're about 3 to 1 are the best price now, and I was making that 3 to 1 probably slightly too big. I can pull them up. I've not re-rated the games. I'm actually just going to get the phone up for you now, and I have my rate. There's a lad that I work with on the ratings for the lower league who's very good, and Crewe are, bear with me.
No, you're right.
I think we've got Crewe as rated about the 4th or 5th best team in League One. So yeah, you're on a great bet. You're on a great bet anyway. You know that looking at the market, but even at the current price, I think they're about 3 to 1. I made them slightly short than that. I actually bet them the other week for whatever small liquidity was on Betfair. This was before I got premium charged, and I think I got about 250 quid at 9.0 on Betfair Exchange. It's actually the last price matched on Betfair, I'd say, because I was looking before, and that was before last week. So they must have been about 8 before last week, really. Yeah, they're a great bet. They're a great team. Was on them last year in League Two. In all the markets, I think I ended up betting them in top 12 at about 5 to 6, and we bet them top 7 promotion to win the league. So yeah, they're a quality team. Got a lot of good young players, and yeah, you're on a great bet.
Well done, Tommy. Carl, I'm trying to think. I think this is his question. He says, what's the ideal finish to the Football League season for you with your current open bets? So I guess he's just asking what bets you got on and what do you want to happen.
Yeah.
He's trying to steal your bets, mate.
Premier League, my big position is on Salah, like I said, so top goal scorer.
Yeah.
You find I've got a big bet on. I've got about $4,000 on Tottenham to be in the top 4 at 9 to 2, which was looking great 2 games ago, but less so in the last 2 games. I know they've lost the last 2 games now, Liverpool, and I haven't seen the Leicester game yet, but they're obviously still short on the 9 to 2 as well. But like they were a big they were a big plus for me at the start of the season. Mourinho, doing the Mourinho grind second season.
Yeah.
I thought they were quite unlucky last year. Like, a lot of people were down on Tottenham because the results weren't great towards the back end of the year, but they lost Kane for 3 or 4 months. Son obviously did his elbow, was it, as well? And Son just doesn't miss games usually. He's just, I think Heung-min Son, prior to that elbow injury, had played something like, he played a ridiculous amount of games in the prior 2 years. It was he must have played the most games in the world. Like, he plays every minute of every single game, and never got injured prior to that from falling on the elbow, which is a weird injury to get for a footballer. You're usually looking at hamstrings and tendons and whatever. So it's kind of a bit of a freak that he got injured in the first place. So yeah, Spurs top 4. Like, these are all moves, so you just feel a bit of a fraud telling you about them. Like, but got a big position on Carlisle. Carlisle actually got beat at the weekend, but they seem to have played. They ended up going off 5 at Forest Green, which is good for my expected. They got beat 1-0. It looked a pretty even game from what I've seen so far. But like, that's good. That bodes well for Carlisle. Love Carlisle's manager, Chris Beach. He's get the Rochdale name in again. He's an ex-Rochdale coach under Keith Hill. Seems to be doing great things with Carlisle. Carlisle's numbers are brilliant. Like, they barely can forget about conceding goals. They barely concede shots. Like, they're just defensively very compact. Good unit. Beach was a brilliant footballer. He was a quality centre midfielder. He was at Huddersfield and played for us at the end of his career. But he was a brilliant player. Seems to be all over the analytics of just with the signings he's made and stuff like that. So like, I really like Carlisle. Who else? Championship, Jesus. Going back to the Brentford, fucking bet Brentford every year, to be honest with you. They've got to go up at some stage, don't they? But I think they're 5-1 at the moment, which is fair enough. But like, they're probably even money or something for promotion. Like, they've just got to go up at some stage. Like, if ever you were going to invest in January rather than sell players, now they do buy players. They bought the 2 lads from Oxford last January, but like, they've just got to go for it, like, because they're not going to get a better chance. Well, they probably will incrementally, but like, they've just really got to go for it, and they've just got to go up at some season. And just like Hamilton have got to go down from the Scottish Premier League at some season. Like, I bet Hamilton every year to go down, and they're the worst team in Scotland every single year. Like, they're absolutely crap, and they somehow survive. They're bottom. They actually won the weekend away at Ross County, but they even the week prior, there was some COVID issue with one of the teams. I can't remember who it was. Kilmarnock, and they ended up turning a loss into a win and stuff like that. And you just like, these jammy bastards are going to survive again. Like Hamilton are just awful. So I need them to go down in Scotland. Carlisle, very good. Who else? League One. I'm on Portsmouth in League One. Another after time. I actually don't massively like the current Portsmouth price. I think they're about 9-4 on Betfair. It's probably short enough. But I'm on them at a bigger price, so happy enough. Who else? Like Portsmouth, Kenny Jackett, like, be just very worried about them. Squad-wise, they're very good. You just be slightly worried about some of the stuff. Like, 2 of the teams I really like in League One are Portsmouth, which I'd be a little bit hesitant over the manager, and Peterborough, who I'd be very hesitant over the manager. Like, Peterborough's recruitment is unbelievable, and the manager, I think it's his 3rd spell, Ferguson. I don't know. He must have some dirty photos of the chairman or something. I have no idea how he's still at Peterborough. Like, just get a proper. Analytically, you've got brilliant players. Go and get a manager like that who can manage them. So they might still go up by default, just some of the brilliant players they're signing, but like, they need a new manager. Who else? Relegation wise, I don't like. I think Northampton are probably very, very poor in League One. Like, they lost 4-0 at home at the weekend to Lincoln. The price now has gone slightly, about 8-13. It's probably still a bet. Financially, prior to COVID, their financials are a bit ropey as well at Northampton. Can't see them signing many players. Financially, they could be in a bit of a conundrum, and the team is very, very poor. They've actually won 5 games, unbelievably, but like, the goal difference tends to tell a bit of a story. If you're not into your analytics and following prices and stuff, if you want a basic number, to see what's going on. Goal difference is a very good barometer for what's going on, basically. And I think Northampton are -19 in League One. They're actually a place outside the relegation zone, but they're very poor. Championship wise, it's like I said, Brentford, Ivan Toney, top goal scorer, probably be top goal scorer. Yeah, don't know. That's generally.
Yeah, you gave a lot away there, mate. Do you think in like in general, futures markets are kind of exploitable, like plus the fact that like people just kind of stay away from them because they want a quicker turnover?
Yeah, I think they do, but I try and think a little bit. Joe, good man. I tend to. I like anti-post markets, to be honest with you. Yeah, they're softer, so they're easier to beat. And I have no qualms with tying my money up for a long time if I think I'm on a big price mistake.
Yeah,
tend to be slightly easier to get down as well. Like if you bet a price mistake and it and the game's the next day and it shortens up massively, like your account's under pressure straight away. Whereas if you bet an anti-post, your account's probably not going to go until the following May when you collect all your winnings, basically. So that can help with longevity of accounts as well.
That's a good point. What's like? Can you compare? Like, I'm not asking for your exact ROI, but can you kind of compare between your futures bets and your normal singles day-to-day stuff?
Say that again. Sorry, I missed the question.
Comparing your like return on investment between futures or anti-post.
It's probably a lot higher futures. I don't record it. I just go off feel more than anything. I just find I don't have the time to work out exact staking plans and Kelly this, Kelly that, and recording my bets to see did I win 15% this year or 12%. I'm just not. I just don't care. My bank balance will tell me if I need to reduce my stakes. Basically, I just go off what's in my bank. If my bank's falling and I get a feel that it's not going as great, I'd probably reduce stakes. But like. I don't track it. I just don't track it. I could optimize it and get another 2% out of it, but I just can't be asked.
Love that. All right, a couple more questions have come in. Shikondi Classic says, "What's the best betting method to use and make lots of profits?"
Just beat the price. It's not really a betting method, but beat the price, whatever price you're betting stuff at.
I guess he's talking maybe like arbing, match betting, value betting, using tipsters, trading.
Yeah, it depends. It depends a lot about yourself as well, whatever your risk profile is, and whether if you can handle variance and like you can still have variance with all those options you just listed. But like the way I go about it, the value betting, you can have a lot more variance, I'd say, than the actual. And if you trade and nicking in and out of a market for a couple of percent, you're going to make money. And if that's your risk profile, good on you. Like get the few quid out of it, and I find it might be a good way to start if you're actually starting off and you're a bit new to things and you want to make a few quid early on without knowing that much. The trading angle is good and you'll make money out of it if you do it correctly. But it's just the way I'm at 12 years deep into it. Like I can't be doing that now. I've got to get something else out of it.
Couple more, mate. Sir Poirier says average numbers of cards teams get in a football match under or over 7.5.
Like cards, it's quite a general question that, but it'll depend on a lot of things. How many cards? Card lines won't be static.
Normally way less than that.
Yeah, it wouldn't be static as well. It depends on the game and is it a derby, who the referee is. It depends on loads of different things, card markets. But to be honest with you, I don't really look at card markets. It tends to be a little bit of a smaller market.
Yeah.
I get stuff sent on to me all the time. Like we got a very, very nice touch out of Lionel Messi getting a yellow card in that game the other week when Maradona died the game before, just for taking his shirt off and getting yellow carded with a Maradona t-shirt. So Messi was about as soon as Maradona died, basically, a couple of us got on Messi to be yellow carded. First yellow card, 33s. and to be yellow carded any time at 11-1. Like, Messi barely gets a yellow card ever. But the fact Maradona had died, Messi has a connection. I think it's the Newell's Old Boys who Maradona played for. Messi was 2-5 to score in the game. So the angle was basically, if Messi scores, that his t-shirt's coming off. There's going to be a picture of Maradona on it, and he's going to get yellow carded. And unbelievably, Barcelona were 3-0 up. He hadn't scored. There was no yellow cards in the game, and he scored about 15 minutes from the end, and he was the first yellow card as well. So it was absolutely perfect. We got 5 figures out of that, basically.
Wow, that's really cool, mate.
Yeah.
I've got no idea what this means, mate, but I assume you do. Joe Smith, thoughts on Mr. Icky Tentacles?
Yeah, that's a guy on Twitter, Garrod. Yeah, he wouldn't be my biggest fan, you might say, but yeah, he depends. Like he definitely respects me in a way, But what can I say about him? Garrod is very, very. He's talented. He knows what he's doing, but he probably just doesn't go about it the right way sometimes. But each to their own. We all have different ways of approaching life, I suppose. But I wish him well.
All right, there we go. Tom Payne, what's your biggest kick in the nuts? I needed New Zealand winning the World Cup for 25k in a multiple 2019.
Yeah, to be honest with you, Tom, I bet New Zealand to beat England in that semi-final, so I feel your pain. Yeah, biggest kick in the nuts. Fucking hell. Not being paid out of a bet that would have changed my life was a pretty big kick in the nuts. But you live and learn from these things. I've quite a good appetite for work and that I'm interested in, and gambling, and even not getting paid, it opened a lot of doors for me. Just being behind certain bets, and yeah, that was a pretty big pain and kick in the nuts at the time. To be honest, I just moved house. That would have changed my life. One family member was loads going on in my life at the time. Family member was quite ill. Yeah, loads going on. Just without getting too personal about it, there was a few things going on, and yeah, that was a big thing. That dragged out over a long period of time, and didn't really get paid that much in the end relative to what I won. So that was big. Yeah, I'm quite a positive person, to be honest with you. Like I'm going to be able to eat if tomorrow, as things stand. So like, sure, what else do you need? Like, you've got a roof over your head and you can eat, and I don't go to work. So fucking, yeah, I'm very lucky, to be honest with you.
Yeah, good man. You're laughing. All right, buddy. I reckon we call it a day. Hey, you've been going for a long time now, hour and a half.
Again, another record probably.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you very much, mate. Been very very knowledgeable once again. Gave away lots of stuff, even a few bets for the punters out there. So
hopefully so.
Hopefully they can maybe get on a few of those, find the right prices, and see how they pan out. Hopefully some of those futures go your way. But for those still on the stream, if you could just give us a quick like, that'd be tremendous. If you haven't already, subscribe to YouTube, or I don't know where you would, probably a couple of people on our Facebook group. Give it a like, whatever. Do all that kind of stuff. Show a friend. And that'll go a long way. Thank you very much, mate. Anything else you wanted to get out? Maybe you want to steer people in your direction in terms of getting in contact if they want to?
Yeah, just thanks to the guys that sent questions, and I suppose it was some of them real good, and it was nice to just generally talk about them. And I hope people learn a few bits and pieces about how I approach things. And I'm not saying what I do is right, and what you can actually evolve yourself and do things different to me, and just whatever works for you, basically. And I'm glad. Thanks for trade, mate, as well, and yourself for giving me the opportunity with the podcast, and that opened a couple of doors for me as well. And hopefully I can repay it for a couple of other people. And I'm on LinkedIn if anyone needs anything within reason.
No, mate, anytime, mate. You're happy to have you on, mate. All right,
Come on.
tremendous, guys. I guess we'll catch you soon. I'll play a little outro video. Who knows if it'll actually work or not? Or, yeah, but we'll see. We'll see what.